Last week we heard about how God made Abraham an amazing promise that he would have a baby even though he and his wife Sarah were very old. Now over time, that baby grew up to be a young man and Abraham got older and older. And he was worried that his boy wouldn't find a girl to marry. And he didn't want Isaac to marry somebody from where they were living in Canaan. He wanted him to marry somebody from his hometown, where he and Sarah had travelled from all those years before. So Abraham called his servant, his oldest servant, somebody he knew he could trust. And he said, I need you to go back to my hometown and find a girl who will marry Isaac. The servant said, but what if I can't find a girl who's willing to travel so far? It's a really long way. Should I take Isaac over there to meet the girl there? And Abraham said, no, this is the place that God has promised to give me and my family. Isaac needs to stay here. You need to go and see if you can find a girl who's willing to travel here. If you can't find a girl who's willing to travel with you, you don't have to stick to your promise anymore. She needs to be willing to come back here, but don't take my son there. So the servant made Abraham a promise. So Abraham's faithful servant loaded up 10 camels with lots of expensive gifts and set off on the long journey back to Abraham's hometown. It was a long journey and he was tired and dusty, but nearing sunset he came to a well and he stopped there and he prayed and he said, God of my master Abraham, please give me success. When I ask one of these girls to give me a drink, if she's the one that Isaac is to marry, then let her answer, yes, have a drink, and I'll give water for your camels too. Now, just at that moment, a beautiful young lady called Rebekah came to get water from the well. And the servant said to Rebekah, please, may I have a drink from your jar of water? And Rebekah said, yes, here you go, have a drink, and let me get water for your camels as well. The servant was so excited. God had answered his prayer even before he had finished praying it. He asked the girl, what's your name and who's your family? And she said, my name is Rebekah. My father is Bethuel. And it turned out that Rebekah was a distant relative of Abraham's. The servant was so excited, he said, does your father have space for me to stay tonight? And she said, yes, we've got room for you as well as food for all your camels. And she quickly hurried off to tell her family that they were going to be having a guest. Now she told the whole story to her family. And her brother Laban quickly ran out of the house and said to the servant, why are you still here by the well? Come to our house. You're welcome. We want to see why you are here. So the servant went off with Laban and went to the house of Rebekah. When he was there, he told them the whole story of who Abraham was, of how he wanted to find a wife for his son Isaac. And the family were really excited to hear news of Abraham and Sarah and all that had happened to them and how good God had been to them. The servant wanted to leave straight away, but Rebekah's family said, no, let her stay here for another week or two. And the servant said, but Abraham is dying to meet his new daughter-in-law. Please, I need to leave now. So they said, okay, we'll ask Rebekah. Rebekah, are you willing to go and be Isaac's wife? And she said, yes, I am willing. So she and the servant waved goodbye to Laban and her family and set off back with all of the camels, leaving all those expensive gifts behind for Rebekah's family. After a long journey, Rebekah and the servant were finally coming close to Abraham's home. Now Isaac was out in the fields when he saw in the distance lots and lots of camels, and he thought, I wonder if that's my father's servant finally come. So he hurried over to meet them. When Rebekah saw somebody running across the fields, she said, who is that coming to meet us? And the servant said, that is my master Isaac. So Rebekah quickly got down from her camel and covered her face with a veil so that she would be a surprise for Isaac. Now when Isaac and Rebekah met, it didn't take long before they decided to get married. Isaac loved Rebekah very much, and after they had been married for a while, Rebekah became pregnant and had twin boys. And we're going to hear about those twins next week.